We had been teaching various things and getting more into craft and a little further away from woodworking. And then one year, John Cesada and Charlie Mayo and I went out on the river, and we were collecting spruce root and willow bark. And John said, "This is what's wrong with the classes we're doing. We are bringing materials to a classroom and setting them up on a Formica table, and people aren't making the connection to the woods."
You can make me a proposal. Why don't you start laying out where you think the rope should go, and we'll work together to decide.
So remember, you're cutting, not digging. That idea we spun around, and the following summer we did a week in the woods for the first time, thinking that we would bring people out into the woods for a week and they would then harvest their own materials and make stuff, and it turned into a whole different emphasis.
The part that you I see that I've made myself sort of a kitchen set, complete with a centerpiece, and it seems that one week at Week in the Woods, and I've gone completely Martha Stewart.
Week in the Woods was the very beginning of our folk school, and it's just what it sounds like. It is actually a group of people that come together in the boreal forest, and they spend the whole week together making crafts. But the really cool thing about it is that everything that they make is made from materials that they find right there at the site of the camp.
Good job.
Cool. Because it's several days, it becomes more than just making the crafts. It's about the community that's created, and people are eating together and cooking together and really getting to know each other on a level that doesn't happen in a shorter class.
You want to try, Dave?
What they look like. It's like a salmon patty, basically.
That's what
It's
we're
got
talking about.
some cracker crumbs in it, and what do you got in it?
Onions, spices. Lots of people helped with it, so I don't even know anymore. Eggs.
Oh, so people added stuff. Okay.
Yeah, they're really good.
Under this, the file.
It's not just the things, you know. I mean, they go there and they make stuff, but they come away with a different awareness that it's not just the stuff that they take home, but the process and where it's happening, that the surrounding is a big part of what they do and what they can do and how they see themselves.
I think by the time I go back, I'll be a lot more calm.
Anything to this.
And
Yeah.
I'll probably look at a few things in a different light, like knife handles that I've never really considered before. How much time it takes to put into something that becomes so beautiful.
I grew up in Germany, and the town I grew up, there was the folk school was a thing there. There were many different classes offered, and it was pretty cheap. It was luckily subsidized by the city. And I was into crafts and learning all kinds of stuff, and I took every class I could think of. So it's, you know, a lot of my knowledge, especially about crafts, comes from the folk school.
The passion I had was that we were somehow connected to the land, and we were harvesting materials locally, and that has stayed with me. And then I started reading up on folk school and learning about the philosophy, and it dovetailed.
The great thing about a folk school is that you do have the opportunity to learn things that you would never learn in a traditional classroom. You can learn those do-it-yourself things. How do you build a bench? You can learn about drying fish and even catching fish in the Tanana River. And it's a completely different set of values from like a public school setting, and it's non-competitive, and there's a lot of learning that happens in a more circular fashion than in a traditional classroom setting, because our instructors are also open to learning from our students. And we find that a lot of times students are actually learning from each other in that setting as well. So the information is definitely not going in a singular direction. It's moving throughout the class.
Some of the activities, like the noticing activities, the going and finding a special spot in the forest and returning to it and seeing whether there are changes and seeing whether there are changes in you that allow you to notice more about it, give you a connection that you wouldn't otherwise have. And that's a beautiful thing to see.
I haven't looked at my phone in so long that it's going to be very weird going back to Seattle and like seeing screens and stuff.
Our core classes are definitely woodworking and fiber arts and things that can be made from the boreal forest. But in recent years, we have also ventured quite a bit out into outdoor skills, things that really get people outdoors more. And we also offer classes that are do-it-yourself in nature, teaching people how they can be more self-sufficient or sustainable. By nature, a folk school is geared for being responsive to the local community. So that means that every folk school has something different to offer.
I took folk school classes when I was growing up, and it completely enriched my life. I just learned so much stuff. I mean, there's just anything like that you'd learn at school. I learned how to make traditional shoes out of ryegrass. Yeah, I mean, that's empowering.
So now look inside there. See how that's a knife? Now I'm going to push. See how I'm cutting, just like I would be pushing a knife through there?
Yeah.
Now you do that. Empowerment, I think that is kind of what happens. People, whatever it is they do, it's gaining a little bit of skill in the use of a tool and then creating something with that newfound skill, and it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't even matter if they completed the product. It's just that they have had this experience and they have gained a little bit of skill and a tremendous amount of self-confidence, and I think that's become the more important part for me, especially teaching kids.
Yeah, I mean, to start it, I don't need much, right? So now, which one was it where it goes in?
This goes like... I never thought I'd be able to carve a spoon, but I'm able to carve a spoon. It's bad, but I can still do it.
If you want to understand the world that you're living in, it's vital to go and experience it face to face. And it's also about gratitude, recognizing all that's here that we need to protect.
So remember, you're cutting, not digging. Sonia, how's it going?